So it's interesting. I talk about this quite a bit, of, how important it is to read the ancient scriptures, which you're trying to realize, self-realization is ancient, and it's something new, something older than the earth itself. So it's very, very old and isn't new. There's nothing new about it. It's ancient. So the ancient scriptures, the oldest of scriptures, are very important to read. The ones that have survived so long uh, have real truth in them, whereas the ones that are coming now have many, many impurities in them, many ideas, thoughts, concepts, because there's very few God-realized people writing books. Very few. In fact, it would be hard to name a God-realized person. People will name popular people that they've heard about, people that are in the news. They'll never mention somebody who isn't popular. So they're getting their ideas, names from popular sources. So the reason I recommend it is that the original scriptures, as in God is original, the first, as in the first person, speaks of and teaches the way that I was taught. And I was taught 55 years ago that the world, there's no joy in the world. There's no happiness in the world. There's no comfort in the world. There's nothing lasting in the world. There's nothing of value in the world. And people who are worldly, meaning people who really, really want this world to be as it is, because this is all they know. That's hard for them to comprehend, because they don't want to know that. They want to think that God will come into their life and make their life in the world beautiful and perfect. I don't know any examples of that being so. Can we turn that down? Okay. And I don't know of any examples that point to that as being true. Can you think of any? What happened to Jesus? Did his world become peaceful and beautiful? What happened to Rama? What happened to Krishna? What happened to Ramakrishna? What happened to Ramana Maharishi? What happened to Yogananda? Yogananda died at, what was it, 59? No, didn't make their lives perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect life. And yet there's a lot of false prophets, and that's exactly what they are, that are teaching spirituality, and that it's, if practiced, it'll make your life wonderful. Now, the scriptures did say that. They didn't say that that your life is wonderful. They didn't say that it will make your life wonderful. It said that life is wonderful. Nothing has to change. Your life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. It never, ever implied that practicing true spirituality will change the world, will bring world peace. Why would you want world peace, first of all? Is that really what you want? There have been times when there's very, very little war in the world, almost none. And yet there wasn't peace in the world. Everybody was just as confused and just as unhappy as they are now. that unhappiness is in our minds. It's when our mind embraces the illusion and doesn't embrace the truth. We're unhappy. Now, if we're given hope that something will bring happiness into our lives, some change in the world will bring happiness into our lives, it gives us a sense of hope. And a sense of hope can give us a sense of hope for peace, which can give us a little bit of false happiness. And spirituality has never been about hope, ever. I've over the years, I've read quite a few of the ancient scriptures, and I've never heard the word hope being used as part of spiritualization. I've heard the word despair being used, or hopelessness being used, or resignation of never realizing. I've heard of that being used. That's how the Bhagavad Gita starts. Arjuna's depressed because he doesn't think he'll ever have self-realization or God realization. He doesn't think it's possible for him. It's exactly what I thought after many decades of practice. So I practiced for decades, and I didn't have what I was looking for. But I didn't stop practicing. Right, I didn't practice less. So if people aren't taught correctly, if they're not taught that the world is nothing but hopelessness, and that there is nothing for you in this world of any value, it's all just temporary distractions, um, and false things being pointed out as being uh, happiness, as in advertisements, for example. Everything that somebody is trying to sell you is a sales pitch for extreme happiness. As in the food that you buy from them will give you extreme joy and happiness. Or a new car will give you extreme joy and happiness, or a new dress, or new shoes, or a new house. Or if I could just meet that one special person that I know is out there, what do they call them now? A twin flame. If I can just meet my twin flame, then I'll be truly happy. What about the happiness that you have right now? This is what the scriptures teach. This is what the avatars taught. This is what the perfect masters taught. This is what Yogananda taught. He said the happiness is right now. It's not going to come into the world. It's already here with you. You don't encompass the whole entire world. You can have happiness if you go within yourself. If you connect with yourself. To connect with yourself, you have to know what you are. There's very, very little wisdom being shared in the world today. If somebody gets to the point to where they're really truly looking for wisdom, they go to teachers, or they go to um, the New Age scriptures. You try to find a teacher that makes them feel better about themselves. You try to find a book that makes them feel better about themselves, or that gives them hope. A teacher that gives them hope, or a book that gives them hope. A satguru will never give you hope, ever. If the guru tries to give you hope, know that guru is a false prophet. The guru is never trying to give you hope, ever. It's all about realization. What else you already have. That you already have that. I did it again just the other day. All of this happens quite often. As I was looking for my cell phone, and I was real serious about it. I was looking for my cell phone, and there's 4 floors to this mushroom, and we leave our cell phones on different rooms all the time. And so I was really looking for it. And then I put my hands down to my side and I felt that bump in the pocket. That was my cell phone. That's what realization is. Any guru or teacher who doesn't teach you that isn't teaching the truth. They're teaching you that you can become a better person, that you can, with more effort, you can realize with more and more effort, you can become happy. They're not teaching you truth. The true gurus never teach that. And then also never teach that I found happiness, I found truth. And if you just follow me, you also will find truth someday. Because that also isn't true. True guru has never said that, never will say that. They'll never say, follow me, and the truth will be revealed to you. Never. They never say that. They teach you a sadhana. They say, practice your sadhana, and the self will reveal itself to you. They never say that I'll reveal the self to you. They'll never say I will give God realization to you. Never. And then some foolish people will look for any uh, thing that disproves that to be true, or so they think. So they'll say, well, Ramakrishna gave Samadhi to Vivekananda. Um, Dr. Puri gave Samadhi to Ramakrishna. Well, Samadhi is not realization of truth. Samadhi is a state of mind. And you can have Samadhi yourself. You don't need somebody to give it to you. It isn't that hard. It's just concentration is all it is. Concentration on the right thing. All of us experience various types of samadhis. And the problem is we're concentrating on things that are temporary. If you concentrate on something that isn't temporary, then you also can have samadhi. If you really concentrate on it, it doesn't have to take more than a few hours at all. The only reason it would take more than a few hours is because you're not concentrating. And the effort that most people put into meditation, it's really, really pathetic. It's really sad. They put very little effort into it, but they expect a lot from their effort. And so I've been meditating for 3 months for an hour every morning, and I haven't had any realization. I don't see any light. I don't hear any divine sound. I don't seem to have any wisdom. Um, okay, look at it. Look at it in reality. An hour a day every morning. Uh, you never actually even reach meditation if you're meditating for an hour every day. What you're doing is you're practicing different kriya techniques, 3 or 4 or 5 kriya yoga techniques in an hour. And then if people are doing the energization exercises, and if they're following, let's say, for example, Kriya Yoga International, where they have a lot of kriyas and a lot of complex kriyas, how are you ever going to meditate in the course of an hour? It's not going to happen. You have to be realistic. And if it was to happen, then again, there should be examples of it. With even worldly things, people that sell worldly things, they the reputable ones will show you results. They'll have testimonials. Testimonials are really big for sales. There was for a while there almost anything that a salesperson put for sale that they would put testimonials with it because people are really swayed by testimonials. You know that almost all sales pitches are false. It, you're given a sales pitch to separate you from your money, and everybody knows that now. So listen to the testimonials. People just like you, they bought the product and they've been so gloriously satisfied and happy with it, and that gives you some confidence. So before you can practice with strong concentration, with the concentration that's necessary in meditation, you have to be driven. And there's nothing that drives us more than sorrow. As soon as you lose a loved one, someone you really, really love, you're driven to find answers. What is the purpose of life? Where has my loved one gone? Where am I going to go? Why is it that it seems like I finally found happiness in somebody, and then that somebody, that special person, is taken away from me, and start looking for answers. Whereas if you're happy all the time, you're not really looking for answers, are you? Because you're somewhat satisfied. You don't think about the deeper things of life. So knowing that to be a fact, I mean, suppose there was no sorrow in the world. So suppose the world was at peace, and everybody had everything that they wanted. Would people be thinking about deeper things? So people say that they want world happiness. Mm, Is that really the best thing for the world? First of all, it's impossible. Just 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 a little bit of thought will show that to any person that that's impossible for the world to be happy. And there's here outside the windows in the fields, there's a particular bird that lays its eggs on the ground. And I was thinking, gosh, what kind of torture is this for these poor birds that lay their eggs on the ground where all the predators are? Now, other birds lay their eggs in corners of buildings or up in the trees where most predators can't find them. And these birds lay their eggs right out in the open where the uh, predator animals can find their eggs and eat their eggs or eat their chicks. And I was looking out the window um, one early morning, and I heard the birds crying and crying, yelling and screaming and flying around in a particular spot. And I saw a mongoose, wh- which looked like it was either an egg or maybe a small baby bird in its mouth, and was trying to flee. All the birds were attacking it. So suppose there was world peace. The mongoose is still going to eat the baby birds. It's not going to eat the eggs. So, in order to have real happiness, you would have to have um, a mongoose that is hungry, and then that would also be unhappy if a mongoose is starving to death. Or a mongoose to go completely against its nature and start eating vegetarian. And then if all the animals ate vegetarian, would there be enough vegetarian food for everybody? And then some of the animals would overpopulate the earth, and that would spread disease. And then humans would also get the disease. So do you really think as human beings that we have better answers in planning this world than God does? Look at the immense intelligence of God. God is maintaining all of this world. He's maintaining all the other worlds. We go up on the roof and we look at the stars, we look at the planets, and those are just the ones that we can see with the naked eye. And the stars are far, far, far away, long, long distance away. And in fact, the stars that you look at, you're looking way into the past. And it takes a long time for the light from the star to reach the Earth. So all the answers to absolutely every single thing of importance is within inside of you. And we've heard that many, 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 many times. The answer is within you. Meditate and you'll find the answer. How many times have you been told that? I used to hear it all the time. And then you meditate, and all you have are uh, restless thoughts for the hour that you meditate. Maybe for a moment or two, maybe your mind won't be bothering you so much, but it's still thinking about something. Maybe it's thinking about something pleasant, but you never had meditation. And the thing is, you can have meditation. It isn't hard too, but you have to be instructed on how to meditate. And there's very little instruction out there on how to meditate. There's hundreds and hundreds of books on how to meditate, and yet none of them teach you how to meditate. They don't even know what meditation is. Does that surprise you? Does it surprise me? And then there's thousands of spiritual teachers that teach you how to meditate, and they also don't know what meditation is. They all tell you that something external to yourself is meditation. Doing something external to yourself is meditation. Doing some activity is meditation. Very, very few that teach meditation, so it's no wonder that very few can actually meditate. Meditation is when you connect with that within inside of you, and it's tangible, much more tangible than anything physical, much more tangible than anything that any activity that you can do. It is within inside yourself. Your thoughts aren't within inside yourself. Just view this for a few minutes. What are thoughts? How do you perceive a thought? Just think about it just a little bit. How do you perceive a thought? It's always outside of you. It's never within you. Ever. It's always something that you hear or you see or you feel. It isn't within you. People will describe their thoughts. Oh, I was thinking of um, what my mother, uh, the way that she used to bake a cake back when I was young. You'll think about that. You'll think about uh, visualize something that you want. You don't have it before you, so you'll think about it. You'll think about your future. Or most of the time, people are thinking about their past, usually about something bad that happened. Or they're thinking about the future, usually some worry that they have. But the thoughts are always outside of yourself. They're always about something outside of yourself. Also, they're always about something, some event, something that you did, something that you're thinking about doing. And they're all things, actions outside of yourself. And then if you're successful at going within a little bit, and you still have thoughts, and you think that those thoughts are internal, like a dream. Dreams are not inside yourself. Dreams aren't any different than thoughts. Dreams are also external to the self. Understand what you are, first of all. You don't have to realize what you are in order to understand what you are. Dreams are external to the self, to yourself. Thoughts are external to yourself. So when are you going to meditate if you can't go within? So let's take a simple practice, the post uh, Hongsa uh, meditation technique. When you first think about it, you think about it as something that I practice. Okay. Why do you practice it? When you're taught the practice, or you're taught why you practice it. It's of no use if you don't know why you're doing it. You have to know. So what are you taught? What is the purpose of what most people are taught the purpose of it, and then most people don't even think about what is the purpose of it. They just know that, well, I've been taught the Hong Sau technique, and this is what I try to practice every morning, and they're not very successful at it. Very, very, very few are successful at it because they don't know what the goal is. How can you be successful if you don't know what the goal is? And they might say, well, there is no goal. Goals are relative, and Hong Sau isn't relative. Well, if it isn't relative, then why are you doing a particular sound with your incoming and outgoing breath? That's relative. So of course it's relative to you. When you're actually doing the Hong Sau technique, uh, it's relative. When you when the Hong Sau technique produces its results, then you start to go into that which is not relative. You start to approach the absolute, which nobody seems to know anything about. Meditation teachers or acharyas, they don't know anything about the absolute. And I've listened, the few that talk about it, I've listened to their ideas of what the absolute is, and it's obvious they don't know what it is. You know, someone like Shankaracharya, or in a scripture, if they talk about the absolute, it seems so abstract. It seems like I can't even relate to it in any way. You should be able to relate to it. If you can relate to the relative, why can't you relate to the absolute? Well, because you're experiencing the relative 24 hours a day, even in your sleep, in your dreams. It's all you know. All you know is the world. Your memories from the past, and present activities, and your thoughts about the future, and your thoughts about the past. It's all that you know. So when you have the good fortune of meeting a Mahatma, somebody who has knowledge of God, of the absolute, and if they uh, feel some favor for you, they might give you instruction. You're not entitled to instruction. They might give it to you. They might not. None of us are entitled to instruction. Instruction is of no value unless it's going to be utilized. Why would I instruct somebody knowing that they're not going to understand it and they're not going to use it? Why would I give seeds to somebody and a shovel to somebody, and um, if they're not going to use them? If they're just going to take the seeds and throw it anywhere indiscriminately, in a shady place, in a dark place, on rocky ground, on hard ground, no water, no sunshine, they didn't even know how to utilize them. Why would I give them instruction just because they say, uh, "It's my birthright. You have to give me instruction. I want God, so you have to give me God." Just because I want. Maybe that's how your parents are. That's not how the guru is. But most people have not ever been taught anything differently. Most spiritual teachers today want to be popular. And to be popular, you have to say agreeable things. And you have to talk about things uh, that make people happy. Like if you take initiation into Kriya Yoga, you'll have extreme, remarkable, beautiful life. You'll never have another sorrow in your life. You'll be given such understanding of life that even in the midst of sorrow, your sorrow will be turned into joy. Your mother can die, and yet you'll be joyous in the understanding that life is eternal. Nonsense like that. Kriya Yogism says, even though the book that they believe more than any other book, the Gospel of Ramakrishna, I mean, that autobiography of a yogi, uh, what does Yogananda say about his own mother? Was he indifferent to his mother's death? Does this realization make you indifferent to what's happening in the world? Only people that don't have realization think that. The same way we think of anything that we don't have, we think of it in a glorious way with attributes that aren't even apply to it, or we think of horrible things that don't apply to it. We don't know, so we're thinking and believing whatever occurs to us. So if we do have the fortune of meeting somebody who preaches the truth, and if we have the good fortune of recognizing it, understand that you're in the minority, and that shouldn't bother you because you're only one person. You're not the majority. You are the minority of one. So it only needs to be one person. It needs to be you. Who cares about all the others, whether they have it or not? If it's unlikely for the masses, that it is likely for you. It's been told to you innumerable times in the scriptures in my avatars. How? But most people don't like the instructions. They want something. They want something different. They want something that is uh, easier for them. It can be very easy, but they just want it to be easier for them. And actually, most people would like for it and just give it to me. Why are you requiring me to do anything? Just make my mind spiritual, make my mind happy, make my life happy. Why should I have to change anything about myself? Well, it's because it's required. First, you have to become selfless. You have to become selfless before you can meditate. What's the use of teaching meditation if you're not going to be selfless? You're never going to be able to meditate unless you're selfless. You're going to go into meditation. You're going to sit through meditation. You'll be looking for the results. And you say, I've been meditating for 30 minutes and I don't see any results. So you have to be selfless. You're going on meditation without bringing your hopes and dreams and desires and your wants and your preferences into the meditation. You have to meditate for the purpose of meditation. So there's certain practices that aspirants have been taught for millennia on how to become selfless. Number one way to become selfless is so simple, is to think of others before you think of yourself. Rather than thinking of your own comfort, think about the comfort of others. It's very simple, but how many do that? Very often, people in a family, for example, they'll fight over the thermostat. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? It's really quite common. Or in the workplace, it's too hot. One person is too hot, the other person is too cold. And if you're put into a room, let's say you're put into a room against your will. I've been put into rooms against my will before, and there. Take it to one instance, I was put into a room against my will, and there's somebody else in the same room against their will. Um, and you're not put into situations like that because you're um, the best of the best of people. So I was put in this room, and the first thing I thought was, first thing I thought about my feeling was, "Gosh, it's really cold in here. Really, really, really cold." And I didn't have all I had was just a thin shirt. I felt very uncomfortable because it was so cold. And so I looked around in the room for some way to change the temperature. And I finally found a way to adjust the temperature just a little bit. But then I thought of the person that was in there before I was. He was already in the room. And I thought, he must be comfortable. Otherwise he would have changed the thermostat. So who am I to come into the room and think about my own comfort? What about his comfort? He must be comfortable. And so I left it as it was. And I found out the next day that because I asked him, he said, "Yeah, I like it to be really cold." Well, we could have had a disagreement because I wanted it warmer and he wanted it colder. He would have resented me. I would have resented him. This is how differences happen. Among people, it's because of selfishness. So how are you going to meditate if you're a selfish person? So remember, Kriya Yoga initiation was not available. People read the autobiography of the yogi and they know this, but they don't understand it. It wasn't available the way it's available now. Harry Masaya had a long argument with Babaji about, let me give Kriya Yoga initiation to people in the world, people that put great value into the world. Let me give it to them, the ones that are really suffering. They don't know it. They don't know what the cause of their suffering is. But if I can initiate them, then they can. Um, I'll give them satsang first, so they'll start to understand that real happiness comes from the self. It doesn't come from um, outer worldly conditions. In that time, Babaji was only giving Kriya Yoga initiation to those that renounced the world. In other words, took sannyas. Taking sannyas is a very big thing. It's literally renouncing your life in the world for the rest of your life. That's how serious it is. It's more serious than marriage. In a marriage, if things aren't going well, you can get a divorce or try to get a divorce and just walk out. Sannyas, you can't ever walk out. You can't ever stop. Once taken, you can't stop. You can't take it back. So the person had to have real serious commitment before they were given Kriya Yoga initiation. People don't people don't study the history of Kriya Yoga. You're told certain things and they don't think about it. They listen to what other people say about it. They don't investigate it for themselves. So when Babaji had his disciples or himself give initiation, kriya to others, they became self-realized. And now initiation's been given to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and they're not becoming self-realized. Why is it? Number one, they don't understand what it is. Number two, they're not serious about it. Probably, probably the main reason is they think that they can take the light and bring it in to their darkness, meaning their ignorance, so that the world is important, and that they can have both. I can have my darkness and my limitations, and I can have the light and unlimited at the same time. I didn't come about this understanding this recently. I had this understanding from the beginning, and then it was reinforced from what I understood by Mahatmas who also understood this. So yesterday we spoke of the snake and the rope, uh, and this happens to us every day. Every one of you, you see something and you think it's something, and then upon closer reflection, you see that it's something else entirely different. Uh, just as in a lonely place, a deluded one may get frightened of a terrible face. Just as in an idle moment, one detects an entire city among the clouds, castles in the air. Just as due to a defect in our eyes, we may actually see a pair of moons in the sky. Sometimes when I wake up and I look out the window and the rooms here, they're just big windows, and you can see the moon all the time. You know, and just have some sleep in my eyes, and I see two moons. Now I know that there's only one moon, but it's like there's two. If I was a child and I woke up, I would say, "Daddy, there's two moons." Just as due to a defect in our eyes, we actually see a pair of moons in the sky. Similarly, in truth, we perceive the dynamic world of happenings. Earlier, Sri Rama had demanded that his disciple recognize Brahm, enjoy its delicious sweetness, and throw away the world of plurality. I have a problem putting that word without teeth. This is what Rama demanded. You throw away the world. He didn't say realize Brahman and make your life more happy. What, your life that's going to end in death? Is that what's so important to you? Something that's is definitely going to be destroyed. Is that important to you? So your body that perceives the world is going to be destroyed, and then the world itself is also going to be destroyed. These are facts. Enjoy its delicious sweetness and throw away the world of polarity, as we do in the empty shell of a tender coconut. So you crack open the shell and you scoop out the sweet, tender coconut, and then you have an essence of the coconut milk. But what do you do with the husk? You throw that out. Now, the moment he reaches the understanding that the snake is only a superimposition, uh, Anasya, the student recognizes the rope. There is nothing else for him to throw away. So people think, why would you think, oh, I have to renounce the world? That's what you think because you believe the world is something that exists. It doesn't exist. But you think that it is, that I have to throw it away. Whereas in fact, you never have to throw it away because it doesn't exist. Some are an awakening to Brahm. In other words, we're looking at a snake in the rope. This is what delusion is. This is what Maya does to you. But are you taught this with Kriya Yoga? If you're not, how are you going to meditate? It's not going to be possible. And how are you going to realize the self if you can't meditate? It's not going to be possible. The world, as Sri Rama said, it has to be thrown out before you sit to meditate. So people will sit to meditate, and then they'll start. What do they start doing? Okay, I'm doing Hongsa for a few minutes, and then they start thinking about the world because they haven't thrown it out. So you've taken the world with you into meditation, and so you keep having thoughts of the world. And they ask me, uh, I do the Hongsa, but all these thoughts keep coming. And so I'll say, well, did you bring the world into meditation with you? And so, well, I don't know. Well, obviously you have. Otherwise, you would be thinking about it. There is, in fact, no world to be rejected. So then the delusion makes you think that you have to reject something that doesn't exist. And then it causes conflict in you. This is the illusion causing conflict in you, in your thought that I'm trying to do the right thing. And doing the right thing, there's never any conflict. It's the mind that creates the conflict. Rejecting the world, uh, as in renouncing the world, there's no conflict. The conflict is in thinking, well, the world is a substance. The world is important. My family is important. My job is important. My health is important. My happiness is important. What's the one word that is before all of that? It's I, my, I. Why don't you just throw away the mind and throw away the I? When I first started talking, what did I say? Selfishness, selflessness. Become selfless, and you won't have any of these uh, misunderstandings. But today, it wasn't that way before. Wasn't that way with Sri Yukteswar. Wasn't that way with Lahiri Mahasaya. Definitely not that way with Babaji. You were taught the truth. The world has to be rejected completely. Now, I know this from experience because I've rejected the world completely. There's like one tiny bit of the world that I keep with me. Vedanta, which is the absolute, rejects nothing. It accepts everything, but keeps nothing because there's only one reality. There are two realities, the world and God, the absolute. There aren't two. There's only one. Yeah, son, you had a question?
Guruji, I was thinking what you said, and
Can you speak a little louder?
Guruji, now is it audible?
Okay, I turned up my volume. Let's see.
Now is it audible, Guruji?
Yeah, I turned up the volume.
Okay. So Guruji, I was saying that when I am meditating, how do I get the urgency? Like, I think this is specifically for me. I feel that it's almost like, okay, it's bound to happen, like, in its own time, like that I realize. So I I want to understand, is that a delusion, or how to overcome that you have that urgency consistently, like, when you say that death is coming, it is all known, but it's also like a false promise, you can say, that, yeah, realization will happen. So how do you create that urgency consistently in daily meditation, that you
Makes you think it'll happen. Who told you that? You read it somewhere or somebody told you? You don't know. Who told you? Somebody at Ananda told you? Or you read it no more? And self-realization is bound to come. Did somebody promise that to you? Somebody you respect?
Guruji, it's almost like that line when even when you say that there's nothing to be added unto you, right? But I think it's a false something. I don't know where I'm stuck, but I think I would love to break this also.
Yeah, I don't think I would put a lot of stock in something you can't even remember the source of where you heard it from. I wouldn't put something as important as meditation and to an idea from some source you can't even remember what the source is. It's bound to happen. Well, how do you know it's bound to happen? Well, you don't. It's something that you heard that somebody said, and I don't believe anything that anybody says. Never have. Why would I believe anybody? I stopped I stopped believing anybody when my mother told me she wouldn't pull my tooth out. And she said, "Trust me," I trusted her, and she pulled my tooth out. That's when I stopped believing in what people say. Very, very rarely do you encounter an honest person that does what they say they're gonna do. Or sometimes it's just circumstances. They intend to, but they don't because the circumstances are such that they can't follow through. Uh, uh, when it comes to wisdom, especially since it's so rare, I would never trust somebody to to be telling me the truth about anything. They might believe it, but just because they believe it, it doesn't make it true. And some spiritual teachers almost demand that you believe them. Mm. If you believe me, then you can avoid so much sorrow in your life. Well, how about if you give me a reason to believe you? I would never treat a so-called spiritual person as somebody special. If they are something special, it has to be something for me to realize, something to be demonstrated. It can't be me believing that there's something special. This is why people are so disappointed and go from one teacher to another teacher to another teacher to another teacher. Is because they believe what they say, and the majority of them are not truthful. Some are just outright untruthful, and many of them are just deluding into thinking that what they're saying is true. I heard one popular guru who said that he has special spiritual powers, and he said, uh, somebody said, "How do you know that?" He said, "Well, I must have. Look at how many followers I have. I have 300,000 followers, so I must be doing something right." Does that prove it to be true? Take a real popular singer. It's the most popular singer in the world right now. What's that girl's name? It's real popular. Uh,
Taylor Swift, what is it?
who?
Taylor Swift?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Taylor Swift. The Taylor Swift has more followers than any religion in the whole entire world, and more people follow Taylor Swift than will ever take Kriya Yoga initiation. So she must be uh, the divine feminine incarnate, right? Because she's the most popular. So popularity has nothing to do with spiritual spiritual truth. Spiritual truth is the most unpopular thing. You could probably take 1,000 practicing kriya yogis, and if they were to ask me to talk to all of them in one satsang, probably half of them would get up and walk out because they would say, "Gosh, he's really depressed, and I'm not listening to him. He's taking away all my happiness." But the stories of the true gurus, you've heard that some of them can be really harsh, like Sri Yukteswar. They would take away all your happiness. They would disprove everything you believe in. They would disprove you, so you wouldn't have anything to believe in anymore. It's like, you prove to me that it's not trustworthy. He's destroyed all my ideas. All my concepts have been destroyed. If there was a guru like that today, people would run. And if there's a guru who speaks the truth, a lot of people will run. Oh. You want a spiritual teacher that'll make them feel good within their own delusions. So spiritual practice, number one, if there's any thinking during your spiritual practice, that's the first thing you have to renounce. Uh, Thinking about your spiritual practice while you're practicing your kriyas. You shouldn't be thinking about the kriya, you practicing the kriya, or what you're experiencing or what you're not experiencing. You should be bringing your mind full of thoughts into the meditation. You should empty your mind before you do your meditation. Meditation doesn't give you peace and calmness. You have to be calm and be at peace before you can meditate. And if you're not calm, if you're not at peace before you meditate, then you're not living correctly. If you're living correctly and thinking correctly and reading correctly and being around others that are conducive to peace and righteousness, that make you feel peaceful, will give you a calm mind. Meditation can't begin unless you start to have calmness first. I've had many, many, many people, not just me, but many, and they say, I'm practicing Hongsa and for a long time, 30 minutes. They think that's a long time. And my mind is still thinking thoughts that are not calm. And someone asked a direct disciple of Yogananda asked him that. He said, I'm practicing everything you taught me, but I'm not having any peace. And Yogananda said, it's because you talk too much. Gave him a real simple answer, didn't you? It's because you talk too much. It's a fact. If you talk too much, you're not going to have peace. You're not going to be able to meditate. You spend your whole day talking. We live here in a village, and so there's a lot of people that work with their hands here. They're out with the crops. They have the cows to tend to, and they have their crops to tend and plant and irrigate and the sorts of things that are out in nature. Sometimes they talk a lot, but most of them are quiet all throughout the day, and they have a peaceful mind. Now, when they get back with their family, they can have a very unpeaceful mind. But when they're by themselves and they're not talking, they're not thinking about what the relatives were saying. They tend to have a quiet mind. It's that quiet mind is what you use to meditate with. If you're really upset about something, you shouldn't meditate. That's another reason why you meditate first thing in the morning, because usually people don't wake up upset, and they usually don't wake up thinking about the conversation that had 5 minutes ago. You've been away from the world for 6 hours or 8 hours, so they fasted from the world. And then before you start eating the world again, that makes you upset, you got right into meditation. So you're meditating with a calm mind. That's why you do it. You do it because it's an auspicious hour. What's auspicious about it is that you've been away from the world for 8 hours. Now, now we have another major distraction. Is we take our cell phone to bed with us. And if we start to rouse from consciousness just a little bit, we'll get up, we'll check our cell phone. Whereas before cell phones, you didn't have that. Before computers, you didn't have that. You go to sleep and you would sleep to the night. You wouldn't get up and think about something unless you were worried about work the next day, or if your family had a really serious problem, like an illness or something. You wouldn't be spending all your time with all this useless information. Some have told me, well, oh, I get it, and I check Guru Kripa. Okay, what's the purpose of Guru Kripa? What's the purpose of my groups? Is it to teach you how to realize truth and peace and stillness and quiescence? The Guru Kripa message group isn't uh, give you peace. It isn't going to give you realization. It's just a way for us to communicate, and there's nothing important in it. That could wait until the morning after meditation. There's nothing in there that's important. It's not going to be your salvation. So if you're feeding of the world as if it's something vitally, extremely important, and then you go to meditate, but your whole entire day has been given over to the world is real, the world is important, my family is important, my job's important, my health is important. Uh, all of this, all day long. How are you going to meditate? It's not possible. It has to be understood. And then some people that live in an ashram, I've lived in many ashrams, they think, well, I'm doing the work of the ashram, and that's important. And as long as I'm doing the work of the ashram, um, then I should be able to meditate. I should be able to think that all these activities of the ashram are important. All these activities of your Kriya Yoga organization are important. So if I'm thinking about that, then I'm fine, because none of that is the world. That's all the work for the gurus. Why would that be the exception? Is the work for the gurus? Does it really require us? Are we needed for that? What's the whole purpose of the gurus? It's for your own self-realization. So why would you be doing something that uh, doesn't allow that to happen? Well, it's because we're trying to propagate um, Yogananda's message. Um, Larry Mahasaya said, "Your way to propagate is to experience and realize. That's how you propagate it. It has nothing to do with anything external." And then your argument would be, well, if I hadn't have written this, or if I hadn't said this, then you never would have heard the name Yogananda. Well, we don't know if that's true or not at all. We would like to think that it is, okay, it's something that we're doing, but it's not necessarily true at all. And you don't have to hear the name Yogananda to be self-realized. Self-realization doesn't come from Yogananda. It comes within yourself. Lots of people say, Yogananda, 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 and Yogananda all day long, first thing in the morning, and they don't have self-realization. Look at the facts. So just because you think of Yogananda doesn't mean that you're on the path to self-realization. Not any more than people who say, Christ, 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 Jesus, 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 or Muhammad, Muhammad, Muhammad. Doesn't make them peaceful, doesn't give them the qualities of Jesus, doesn't help them realize. The only path to realization is within your essence. And I don't even say within you anymore, because immediately when you say you, a person thinks me. Well, it's not within this body. If it's not within this body before you took up the body, then why would it be in the body now? After you die, is it still going to stay in the body? In the world, but not of the world, means that you're temporarily inhabiting a body, but you're not of the world, because you don't believe anything that the world says. If you start to believe what the world says, then you're of the world. So, any more questions? Should be lots of questions.
Guruji. Guruji,
Yes.
just taking this forward, I'm not sure if this is true, but if I have a guru, like I have you as my guru, so am I assuming that I need less effort instead of more? Like when you had your gurus, so you were putting more effort, like you were consistent in your sadhana. So I'm just thinking that am I putting less effort because I have a guru?
Well, in order to supposedly get an answer to that question, you define for me what is less effort and what is more effort. And otherwise, my answer won't have any meaning. So what is less effort and what is more effort? You just said, am I putting less? Do I need to put in? Is more effort required or less effort? So, okay, so what is less effort? What is more effort?
Like Guruji, when I had taken like one-on-one, when I spoke to you, it was about an hour meditation. And I know that you say that I used to meditate 3 hours. Probably I can do more than an hour. So do I just follow the instruction which you gave me one-on-one, or I stretch myself more? Maybe that is one of where I look at it.
Well, if you're putting a lot of stock into how long you should meditate, understand that you're not dealing with anything progressive as far as realization goes. Because meditation has nothing to do with time at all. So what you're referring to is how long should I sit in mahasana, and how long should I practice kriya techniques, is what you're asking. Now that I can tell you how long, but how long to meditate, there's no answer for that, because there's no time in meditation. So how is it possible? And how long you sit to meditate is only important for somebody who's not really engaged with the essence of something. you would take a child whose understanding is very limited, and you want them to learn the piano, and they have a little bit of interest in learning the piano. And they have a hope that maybe they could, but of course, for the child, the less effort, the better. Uh, more effort means less time I have to play with my friends. And so you tell them to learn to play the piano, you need to practice at least an hour. That's what you would tell a child. If you're no longer a child, and you know how long I said, it doesn't make any difference. But to a child, it makes a big difference. Otherwise, they won't sit for an hour because they're determined to put forth as little effort as possible. If they could learn the piano without any effort, that would be ideal to them. But we know that it's not possible. So to meditate, it requires effort to learn how to sit still. It requires effort in how to calm the mind before you meditate. None of that is meditation. So if you spend an hour trying to calm down to where you can sit quietly and still, and if you spend an hour trying to calm the breath and calm the mind, you still haven't started meditation. But you're taught that that's meditation. You've been taught wrong. It isn't true. There's nothing about it that's true. If you're taught that sitting at the piano for an hour every day and playing will make you a better pianist, and you believe, okay, well, I'll just sit at the piano and I'll just play, even though I don't know how to play. I'll just play. Well, if you don't know how to meditate, then you can sit in your asana, you can practice the techniques, but it won't be any meditation. And that's why almost nobody's realizing the self in practicing Kriya Yoga. And Kriya Yoga is the easiest way to learn how to calm your mind and to learn how to sit still. It's the easiest way. It's the easiest way. That's the power of Kriya, is that it teaches you very easily how to calm the mind and how to sit still. Uh, it doesn't teach you how to realize itself. But people want to think that it does, and they're thinking, well, I'm working towards self-realization. If I do the Kriyas, I'm working towards self-realization. No, you're working towards calming the mind and calming the body is what you're working towards. And you're still not able to do that. If you practice your Kriyas regularly, you're going to learn how to calm the mind. But we still haven't started with meditation. Someone like, they say, well, Anandamaya Ma never practiced yoga techniques. Well, she didn't need to. She didn't have any problem calming the mind. She was born with a calm mind. So people are being taught so much that's untrue about Kriya Yoga. They're being taught that practicing the techniques is meditation, which it isn't. It's practicing a technique to calm the body and to calm the heart and to calm the mind. It's not meditation. We're still trying to calm the mind. And then they're taught, well, meditation calms the mind. Well, if that was true, then why don't they all have a calm mind? I've met thousands of Kriya yogis, and I've only met a few that have a calm mind. Most of them, their minds are just all over the place, thinking all sorts of things, all sorts of stories, mostly about that involves other people. Whereas Anandamaya Ma, can you imagine Anandamaya Ma gossiping about other people? Ever? Can you imagine that? Or her having to practice concentration, for her having to practice sitting still. She never had to do those things because she was born with the ability to do that. She'd already learned that in another lifetime. And then she'd already realized that in another lifetime. That's one reason why there's many that teach. I'm in Kriya Yoga too. The gurus is that you have to set a good example for others. In other words, even if you have realization, you still have to act as if you don't. Is what they say. Personally, I think that goes against everything I believe in. I don't think you teach other people truth by being untruthful. Why not just tell them the truth? Yes, I used to, but I don't have to anymore. Why not just tell them the truth? I used to practice this much, this much, this much, but now I don't practice because I don't have to. But you do have to practice. Why not just tell them the truth? I can't be untruthful with people. Yes, Nevin, you have a question?
He's like,
Nevin?
Yes, I want to ask, you oftentimes said, what is not, what is not, what is not, but at the end, I don't understand what is. You said, okay, try to be calm, and yeah, but what is at the end? What is Kriya Yoga? I don't understand it.
Okay, first of all, everything is not. Everything you can think, everything you can see, everything you can do is not. None of it's true. 'Cause none of it will persist. None of it will last. So anything that won't last is not true. So everything is not. Everything you see, everything you do, and everything you think. When you were 5 years old, there's lots of things that you thought, uh, this is true, this is true, this is true. And now that you're in your 20s or 30s, you realize that most of that wasn't true. I don't believe that anymore. Now I believe something else. So everything that we think is true, none of it is true. So the second part of your question is, what is Kriya Yoga? Okay, this is Kriya Yoga. It's very, very simple. Kriya Yoga is living from the realization of your essence, what you are, at all times. That's Kriya Yoga. Yoga means union. So it's being in union with the truth at all the times, the truth of what you are. You're not the body, you're not your thoughts. So the other part of that is Kriya. So Kriyas mean the highest action that you can possibly do as a human being. And the highest action that you can possibly do as a human being is physical and it's mental. So when you're in the world, it's a world of physical and a world of mental. But there's also the world of spiritual. But the spiritual remains hidden until we start doing the proper actions, the proper physical actions and the proper mental actions. When you're doing the proper physical actions and the proper mental actions, the spiritual reveals itself. So what are the improper actions and what are the improper mental actions? It's engaging in anything in regard to the world as being real. In other words, my job is the most important thing in the world because it's reality. You think that, and a lot of people think that. They think without their job that they will cease to exist. I'll lose everything. I won't be able to feed myself. I won't be able to have a roof over my head. I'll lose everything. Well, no, you won't lose everything. You might lose the roof over your head. You might lose food, but you haven't lost everything. You haven't lost the most important thing. The most important thing is the ability to breathe. You haven't lost your breath. There's nothing that about losing your job and the food that causes you to lose your breath. Unless you starve yourself to death, that's not going to happen. Your own body won't allow that to happen. So people are willing to believe in the spiritual because they absolutely refuse to disbelieve in the physical and in the mental. In the physical and the mental is constantly changing. What's true about the physical now won't be true about the physical in the future. This building that we're living in right now, a couple of 100 years from now, it might not be there anymore. I've lived without a roof over my head, and I've lived without food. That's one of the happiest times of my life. There's nothing bad about it. It was all great, actually. And I've lived with a very expensive roof over my head, and I've lived with very expensive food. It wasn't the happiest time of my life, but I have had very happy times uh, in the midst of extreme wealth. I've been very happy, and I've been just as happy at times when I had uh, no possessions at all. I've also been happy because I knew who I am. I knew that I don't depend on food, that I don't depend on money, I don't depend on a job. I don't depend on it for happiness. So even if I lost everything tomorrow, including all my friends, if I lost all my friends, I'm still have me. And that's the most important thing. And suppose I lost my soul, that would be a huge loss. And the soul is me. When I say me, I'm not referring to my body. The body's not me. I'm referring to my soul. To me as Atma. So the first yogis, I mean, they were extreme people. They weren't like everybody else. But don't think that you have to be extreme in the way you live physically. That isn't required. The Buddha proved that. It's not being extreme physically or extreme mentally. It's about being extreme spiritually. You have to uh, latch on to God, latch on to God's lotus feet extremely. I mean, hold on tight. Don't let go. You have to be extreme about that. There's nothing in the world to be extreme about. It's not important. You don't have to be extreme about anything. You don't have to fast. You don't have to meditate for 12 hours a day. It's not required. It's not important. And actually, both of those can be harmful. But what you are spiritually, it's important that you be very extreme about that. That you keep your mind fixed on God. You keep your essence fixed on God. The essence of your mind, not the superficial mind, but the essence, the core of the mind. And then the superficial part of the mind, you can utilize in thinking about all the different things in the world. But the core of the mind, which is where the superficial mind comes from, you anchor that in God. And you start to discover what that is. I'll explain to you what the core of the mind is and what the superficial mind is. Um, if I sit to meditate today, um, I might have a couple of random thoughts. Let's say and let's say I'm going to meditate right now. I might have a couple of random thoughts, but then very shortly, within a second or less, I anchor my awareness in God. I know what God is because I've realized God. God's not a person and God's not a thing. God's a reality that's right here and right now. And you don't perceive that reality with your senses. And you don't perceive that reality with your mind. The mind doesn't give you a perception of God. The world, your body doesn't give you a perception of God. So I'll have a few thoughts. They might even be random thoughts, but very quickly they stop, and then the direct presence of God becomes dominant. And I put my awareness in that. Now, in the past, I would sit and meditate, and it might take me an hour to calm the mind down. Whereas to stop all these random thoughts. And sometimes after an hour, I still couldn't do it. The thoughts were still continuing to come in like a flood. They're thinking about all sorts of things. So if I meditated for an hour, my mind never stopped being flooded with thoughts. And then I would end my meditation. I never actually meditated. I didn't fool myself into thinking that was meditation. Don't take my word for it. Listen to the Yogananda and Autobiography of the Yogi. Everything is in there. He said that he was trying to meditate and his thoughts were all over the place. And Sri Yukteswar called out for him. And he got mad. He said, Sri Yukteswar, he knows why I'm in this room. He knows I'm meditating. Why is he calling me? And Sri Yukteswar persisted in calling him. And Yogananda got upset. So he knows why I'm in this room. He knows that I'm meditating. And then he called out, he said, Yogananda, I know what you're doing. You're not meditating. So he was at the meditation room thinking about all sorts of things. He wasn't meditating. So there it comes straight from Sri Yukteswar, what meditation is and what it isn't. And you think, well, Yogananda, he should have had the ability to meditate. Well, he didn't. He went into the room to meditate and he was thinking. And you couldn't stop thinking. He was becoming frustrating because he couldn't stop the mind from thinking. He thought, Sri Yukteswar knows why I came into the meditation room. I came in to meditate. But Sri Yukteswar also knows that you weren't meditating. So there we have a perfect example of what meditation is and what meditation isn't. And people just go right over that without thinking about what is being taught there. How does that apply to me? What is meditation? Well, the one initiated me says that practicing the kriyas is meditation. Sri Yukteswar never said that. So why are they teaching you something that's not true? It happens because people who don't have self-realization and don't have God realization have taken it upon themselves to become teachers. That's why. They have no business being a teacher. And, well, the organization condones it. The organization wouldn't condone it if it wasn't true. You really think so? And when did the organization have self-realization? When did the organization have God realization? Organization is just a committee of people. Organization is not a sentient being that has self-realization or God realization. So why would anybody believe what an organization says? I would only believe what Yogananda were to say to me directly. I wouldn't believe anything that Yogananda said that comes through as hearsay at all. Unless maybe I was right directly in front of somebody I trusted who they heard with their own ears Yogananda said. And they really truly understood it. And it all is in line with what the scriptures say. So if you don't understand something, everything is complicated. I mean, it's this simple. having a guru, having an enlightened guru isn't going to make you enlightened. So going back to the question about effort, if you don't apply right effort, even if your guru is an avatar, you're not going to have realization. It's not going to happen because you have free will and you have to cooperate. If you refuse to do what's necessary, what the guru says is necessary, it's not going to happen. The guru is an expert on spiritual matters. So what is necessary? First of all, is that you have a desire for God, a desire for absolute peace, not just peace of mind, but real peace that doesn't come and go. To be at peace all the time. And to have a desire for that. It's the same as having a desire for freedom. But it has to be your primary desire more than anything else. If it isn't, then you have and you're here for lots of other things. It doesn't make you better than somebody else. It doesn't make you right and then wrong. Everybody's here for different reasons. Not everybody's here for self-realization at all. Most of them aren't. But it doesn't mean they're doing something wrong. They're here for various reasons. Most of them are here to fulfill and to enjoy their worldly desires. This is a perfect place for them. That's what they're here for. And you have to have a certain amount of enjoyment before you can get tired of it. So some people, I would never teach them meditation or say that you need to meditate. I would say, enjoy everything that you want to, but at least follow these rules of life so that you can enjoy better. This is sort of what they're teaching in Kriya Yoga now. They're teaching you how to enjoy your life, but how to enjoy it better. You're not teaching self-realization at all. You're teaching you how to enjoy the world better. And there are ways to enjoy the world better. First of all is think positive thoughts. Because whenever you think negative thoughts, if you're enjoying something, let's say you love watermelon, and you've been waiting all year for some good watermelon, but at the same time you're distracted by a problem. You'll be eating the watermelon with a distracted mind, and then you'll finish most of the watermelon that you were given, and you won't be able to remember. I forgot to enjoy the watermelon. My mind is somewhere else. So to enjoy the world better, you have to be present in the here and now. Now, this is what Eckhart Tolle teaches. He teaches you how to enjoy the world better. There's lots of teachers like that. Be present in the now, and you'll enjoy the world a lot more. Do positive things, and the positive things are more likely to happen for you. You'll enjoy the world a lot more. Take care of your health, and you're going to enjoy the world a lot more with a healthy body. You'll pay particular attention to your health, eating the right things, exercising, resting, sleeping. Have a balance between work and family life or recreation. Then you'll enjoy the world a lot better. So most of the spiritual teachers are teaching you, they're not teaching you spirituality at all. They're teaching you how to enjoy the world better. Self-realization has nothing to do with enjoying the world better. But that's why most people are here. So you're either one of those people or you're not. And there's nothing wrong with being one of those people at all. There's no judgment. God doesn't judge you at all. He wants you to be happy. So he'll continue to provide a world for you to be happy in, if that's what you want. But for those who have been around a while enough to become understand that I am enjoying the world, it's not enough. I've started to enjoy the world a lot. Everything is working for me. I'm making lots of money. I have lots of friends. I'm popular. Have more money than I know what to do with. And I'm doing this to make me happy and that to make me happy, but I'm still not happy. Even then, I'm not happy. It's for those people. It's not for the people who haven't been successful in life. It's for those who've been successful. If you've been unsuccessful in life, then you're not going to have success spiritually because you're not going to have any discipline. It requires discipline. To start doing what's required to have spiritual realization is similar to I've been eating and eating and eating whatever I want every day. Whatever's put in front of me, I'll eat it, especially if it tastes good. And now I'm being told to eat only the right things. And most of those right things I don't even like. And I'm being told not to eat all of these bad things. But I want to. I'm addicted to them. Now, they would find it very hard to start eating properly. So the person who's been doing all the wrong things in life, that is the primary cause of them being unsuccessful. They have to take charge of their life and start doing the right things to become spiritually successful. Meaning the proper discipline, and it does require proper discipline. They don't want to do it. It's the last thing they want to do. They say, "Well, just give it to me. You're an avatar. You're a guru. Just give it to me." That's not going to happen. Never. Yogananda had to work hard, very hard. Nothing was given to him. Ramakrishna, who was an avatar, had to work extremely hard. He worked harder than anybody I've ever heard of. It wasn't just given to him. It's not going to just be given to you. If you have a spiritual teacher who is God realized, then you're very fortunate because you're not going to be taught all the unnecessary things. You're not going to be taught that all these unnecessary things are important. You'll only be taught what's important and what isn't important. And then you just have to do the important things. Make sure you do those every day. And there's not going to be a lot that you're going to be told not to do. If I tell you to practice the Hongsa technique the way that I teach it to you, all day long, and the way I teach it to you, you can practice it all day long. That's something positive that you can do. So I don't have to teach you to think positive thoughts. Do them. Because you're engaged in the concentration on your breath, coming in and out with your awareness here, and your tongue backing up. I don't have to tell you to have positive thoughts. I'm not teaching you anything about thoughts. But if you want a better life, I'll tell you to think positive thoughts. Because life, the kind of life you do has to do with the kind of thoughts you have. The spiritual realization has nothing to do with positive thoughts at all. That's just for a better life. So some fail to make that distinction. And the majority of spiritual teachers are there to teach you how to have a happy life and teach you to be here in the now. Don't think about the past. Don't think about the future. And to be positive about everything and to be grateful and to your word. These sorts of things, physical things and mental things. Physical things and mental things will give you physical results and mental results. They'll give you good physical results and they'll give you good mental results. Spiritual realization is not physical or mental. So how do I have good spiritual results? Well, a spiritual teacher teaches you that, meaning a true guru. So if you can't comprehend any of that, you'll be a lot more successful in spiritual realization if you spend time with somebody who has spiritual realization. And the person that has spiritual realization is going to be wearing Rudraksha beads. isn't going to be wearing orange clothes, isn't going to have a fancy spiritual name. We're not going to have a big following of devoted people behind them. They're not going to quote the scriptures. That's not a spiritual teacher. A spiritual teacher is only somebody whose consciousness is in God. And you can't tell if their consciousness is in God or not by what they do physically. They might appear to be just another lost soul, just another good person. Just like anybody else. And most likely they are. And that's why a lot of people think, well, the spiritual guru is one who can perform miracles. The one that can perform miracles can be evil just as much as they can be divine. It's just the management of energy. The devil can perform incredible miracles. There's evil people that portray themselves as God, or portray themselves as a prophet that can perform miracles. And there's spirits in the afterlife. There's spirits that can communicate to you in this life that are evil. Just because there's a voice that's talking to you, or you see something happening in dreams, doesn't mean that it's divine. Evil entities can also do it. So miracles has nothing to do with it. That's just real lazy thinking on our part to think that the miracles is because somebody's divine. That wouldn't be any more than, I used to lift weights and do bodybuilding, and I still follow it. It would be the same as, well, a person can do dumbbell curls with 130 with 100 kilos, which is a lot. So he must be much better person than the person that can only do 5 kilos. And some people think that, like they think that Taylor Swift is a better person because she is a popular singer. So the little girls look up to her as a role model because she's a popular singer. Doesn't make any more sense than that. This person is my hero because he's the fastest person in the world in the 100-yard dash or in the 10K. It has nothing to do with their character. That's just the power that they have. So having powers, doing miracles has nothing to do with you being a better person or a spiritual teacher at all. Ramakrishna, who was an avatar, I've studied everything about him that was written, and I don't recall even one time that any of his disciples ever mentioned any miracle that he did, ever. They mentioned miracles that Kali would do on occasion, but never Ramakrishna. There's never any mention about miracles. For myself, I have zero interest in miracles. I've seen miracles, but not because I was interested in them. I see miracles every minute of every day. I see miracles. Just because something is different doesn't make it more important to me. I see miracles every day. I'm living a miracle 24 hours a day. It's the fact that this body operates. It has energy and operates and is alive. Is an incredible miracle. You can't say it's science. The scientists can't. Scientists don't even know what life is. They can't tell you what life is. True, science can't create life. Elon Musk and others are creating humanoid robots, but you can't create life. The best that can be done is they can make a artificial flower look really, really real. And they're trying really hard to make humanoid robots and appear real. The best ones that they have now, the mannerisms are still obviously not realistic. They're getting closer, but as long as it's mimicking something that's real, it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be a flaw. So artificial's never going to be real. So don't try to be spiritual. Just be yourself. Be honest about it. Otherwise, your defects aren't going to be corrected. So you have to be honest. If you're not uh, if you're not happy, then you don't have to tell everybody, but you should at least admit it to yourself that you're not happy. If you're not fulfilled by practicing Kriya Yoga, you should admit it to yourself and tell your guru about it. Don't tell other people about it because they'll judge you for it. You tell your guru. If you practice Kriya Yoga and you're not happy, you tell others, and they'll start trying to exclude you from their activities. Don't hang around that guy. He's not buying into what we're selling. He's a troublemaker. You have to be completely honest, but not with everybody. Be honest to yourself. You should never be honest with everybody because the majority of people will use it against you and try to hurt you with it. Okay, we got about 15 more minutes. Anything you want to talk about? Yes, I'm Evan.
Why is the realization so not easy? Why is that so? The
The realization.
yeah.
Well, this is why and I understand what you're saying. You ask really good questions about it. The reason it doesn't appear to be easy is because realization doesn't happen because we try. And we think that by us trying, something is hard to do or something is easy to do. So our efforts can appear to be easy, our efforts can appear to be hard. But understand that realization isn't something that's caused by our efforts. Our efforts are required because that puts us in the proper position to be uh, fulfilled by the truth. In other words, let's say the rays of light from the sun are the truth. And if I'm in a dense jungle, the rays of the sun are just coming through a little bit. So there's a lot in the jungle that isn't seen. But if you come out of the jungle into a field, and I'm just looking at the jungle right here, and there's a field here. If you come out into the field, the rays of the sun are going to hit you very easily, and they're going to hit you from all around. There isn't going to be any part of you that's hidden. So to be truthful, you're making it much more likely to have self-realization to a huge extent just by being truthful. But again, not truthful with people, truthful with yourself. Um, And that's one of the most important spiritual practices you can do. But you can say, well, it's really, really hard. Well, it's hard because you've never done it before. I heard that truthfulness was real important. I was 14, and it really made sense to me. And so I said, well, I'm going to be truthful starting right now. And all I had was just my mother and father. And it was summer vacation, so fortunately I didn't have to go to school to try to be truthful at school. And so I said, well, I'm going to be truthful with my mother and father. It wasn't easy because you get a lot of grief if you're truthful with your mother and father. But it's best to keep them in the dark about a lot of things. So, but I tried it. It was very liberating. I felt very free because I spent time hiding the truth about yourself. And so it helps me relax. And then I also saw that my fear of telling my mother and father the complete truth, it prevented me from doing things that they wouldn't like. And it also showed me that their reaction uh, wasn't as bad as I thought. That they got used to it very quickly. And it actually had a good effect on them because then they could start trusting me and believing what I was saying. So it had a lot of good things about it. And then with my meditation, it made my meditation easier because I wasn't feeling conflicted about anything. I've been truthful for the whole day. And now I'm sitting to meditate with my evening meditation. And I'm tied up with all these untruths that I said the other day. So it made a big difference being truthful. Paramahansa Ramakrishna said it's the most important thing is to be truthful. If you want to realize truth, you have to be truthful. How many spiritual teachers are truthful? I'm pretty truthful when it comes to speaking with everybody. I get into trouble with a lot of it because I am truthful about it. There's a direct disciple of Yogananda, and I went to listen to him talk about his time with Yogananda and what he had realized, and he also initiated into Kriya Yoga. And he talked about health, for example. He said that there's certain things that you should never do. One was you should never smoke. That smoking is incompatible with meditation, for example. You're bringing toxins into the body, and you're cultivating the habit so that when you go to meditate, you have this subconscious or conscious feeling of smoking, but you're also trying to meditate. You not do anything while you're meditating, but you have this habit of smoking. And I noticed that after satsang every day, I even go out the back door. And I wanted to talk to him, so I saw him go out the back door. So I'd never been out the back door before. So I followed him out the back door because I wanted to talk to him. He was going towards his car, and he looked over and he saw me approaching him in his car, and he started walking faster. Like he didn't want to talk to me. I thought that was kind of strange. And so he got to his car first, and you could tell he was really quickly trying to get into the car and shut the door before I got there. But when he did, he had his glasses, and he set the glasses on top of the car to open the door to put something else in the car. And he was just shutting the door. I saw the glasses, and I picked up the glasses because otherwise he would have driven off. So he had to open them. And when he did, I could smell the cigarettes. He smoked cigarettes, but he smoked them in his car. And that's why he didn't want anybody coming near his car, because they would smell the cigarettes. Now, this is somebody who initiates others into Kriya Yoga, telling them that they shouldn't smoke cigarettes, but he smoked cigarettes himself. So it's important to be truthful. That wasn't the only thing he was untruthful about. He was untruthful about a lot of things. That was just one indication. There was a lot of things I don't tell everybody because there's no reason to tell everybody everything. But most everything I tell. Well, I've actually told some people everything. It doesn't diminish me in any way whatsoever. As a as a as a devotee of God, or as being a spiritual person, being truthful. If anything, and it's actually good for you to know my struggles, to know what my problems have been, and know what my difficulties have been. And you can learn from my difficulties. So to try to portray yourself as something that you're not, that's called dishonesty. In business, it's usually a good thing to try to portray yourself as something that you're not necessarily. But it's not the best way to be. In business, the best way to be is to portray yourself as believing 100% in what you're doing. And I'm doing the very best I can do. I'm working as hard as I possibly can. And what I'm set on or what I'm doing, I really believe in. And I believe it'll be the best thing for you too. People can sense what is true and what isn't true. And that's what Shakti is. Shakti is truth. Shakti is power. And spiritual power comes only from truth. It isn't the ability to perform magic. It's the ability to tell the truth. To tell the truth is power. And Shakti builds up by being truthful. There's nothing that builds up Shakti as much as being truthful. Shakti is experience and truthfulness. If I have experience in what I'm talking about, and I'm telling you truly what my experience is, then it becomes a Shakti. It comes with power. Okay, Tat Sat, and I'll see everybody
Om Tat Sat Gurudev.
next. And next Sunday we're going to have Kriya Yoga initiation, and so it'll be at the time of satsang. And there's one or two that I know that I'm going to give initiation to. If there's anybody else that's been attending satsang, if you want initiation, next Sunday message me, and I'll decide if whether or not to include you next Sunday. Okay. Okay. Om Tat Sat.
Pranam.
Pranam Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Love you, Guruji.